Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Manchester City Premier League preview. The Manchester Derby is here, and joining me are two Mancunians.
Yeah,
Shall we say?
We'll take that.
If Cheshire counts. Alex Baggers, you're here.
I am.
Looking forward to the Derby?
Not really, no. Yes, no, kind of. Bit nervous, bit of everything. I'm not sure, to be honest. It all could go really well, really wrong. Must be a bit boring. Honestly, I have very mixed emotions about this weekend.
The thing is with the Derby, no one really knows anything. Talking of not knowing anything, Casey, how you do, mate?
Cheers for that, Jay. Great introduction. Thank you. I'm fine, thanks, until you said that. But yeah, looking forward to the match at weekend.
We'll get right into it. Right, this is at Old Trafford, which seems like an eternity ago. Would have made me a little bit confident. I know we've not got fans, but you think, okay, it's a home game. But United's home record has been awful, and that is an understatement. We've lost, 3 league games already? We've lost at home in the Champions League as well. Less said about the Champions League, the better. Casey, I'll start with you. Going into this game, knowing we're at home and the record we've got, especially in comparison to our away record, which is pretty phenomenal, how are you feeling about it? And what do you put it down to? The fact that United just at home seems to be pretty awful this season.
I don't particularly know, to be honest, because it's just a weird situation because no one has fans, and the fact is it doesn't seem to be the fans that have that much of an effect off the one small sample size we've had of West Ham. Like, they had 2,000 fans in, and it didn't seem to cause any problems in that sort of sense. But you look at it and you've got to see, it must be off-putting when you're used to every week playing these top level games at full capacity, 70-odd thousand, whatever, and you just suddenly go to complete and utter silence. So it must be slightly off-putting. But then again, it just seems to be is it a thing of we just get more up for it, like the whole travelling down the day before, getting into the hotel? Is it just we're getting into the mindset a lot earlier than we are when we're playing at home, or is it just something else? But I think City's the game where it should be self-motivating regardless of whether it's at home or away.
That is true. It should be. You're right. City, we should be up for it. Baggers, mentioned there's no fans in the ground. Everyone has this, right? Everyone has no fans in the stadium, so you can say, well, apart from now that some of the Cockneys have got 2,000 or whatever. Yeah. But by and large this season, nobody's had any fans in the stadium. But do you think that, just allow me to explain it, do you think that's hurt United a little bit more than perhaps some other teams? Because I personally think our atmosphere had improved massively. I think if you go back to the last game where we had fans, the Derby, I know it's a Derby, but the atmosphere there was amazing, and I think that pushed the team on and got us to that point where, especially when we got the late goal, and sort of another thing is 76,000 fans. We do have a big stadium. So when you take those factors in, do you think that maybe that is hurting us a little bit more? Because, as Casey said, it just seems difficult to explain this, and that could be maybe one way of explaining it, that the players have got used to that massive crowd and now it's gone.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something there. I think especially as well as that when we were talking about Manchester United last year, there was kind of the sense that there was a lot of people online saying things aren't going well, Ollie out, and that things aren't going well. But then the stadium was a different atmosphere. Everything was positive. Everyone was behind the manager. Everything looked good in the stadium. Whereas now, the only thing you've got is the online Twitter trends and things like that going every week, saying that Ollie's doing shit and United aren't that good, and that's the mood around United. So it seems that when we were losing games last season, you go back to Old Trafford or you go to the away support, realise the fans are behind you, and I think that the players were lifted. It also gets to a point though where you can't use this as an excuse. It's been long enough now that it is still, we need to just go and play football. We need to go and beat a team, and United we've been without fans for a long time now, and we need to sort it out in the league and need to sort it out at home, because you can't have this, and we can use the excuse all you want, but it's going to get to a point where it's just, it really isn't good enough. And right now, United, for as much as I don't think Ollie should be under pressure, because I think he's done a great job, and it's one of them. If he wins this game with 2 points off the top of the league, 4 points ahead of City, I think that we should be in a positive atmosphere. Whilst the Champions League is whatever happened, it wasn't great, but in the league, Joe pulled up the stats yesterday for us, and he looked at it, and this is the first time United have been within 2 points after 10 games. We think we've only done it twice in the past 15 years. So that's including when Fergie was there and all this. To be within 2 points of the league in top of the league, which is ridiculous after 10 games. So we are doing well. We are competing for the first time in a long time. I think it was only Van Gaal that did that in 2015-16, and then he tailed off massively.
I remember that. That was when
towards
we went to the Emirates, wasn't it? I think then we were when we
were only
hammered.
a couple of points away. But whereas this season, it's one of them, only one game. If we beat City this weekend, we're definitely within with a chance. You have to put in the conversation of title challenges, and it's still only early days, but you have to be in that mindset.
You do have to be in that mindset. And I know people go, what are you saying, we're going to win the league? Not saying that at all, but you should be striving to get to the top, not just sort of challenging for fourth place. If we are going to get anywhere near the top, one player that's going to be have a massive say in that, is going to be Bruno Fernandes. I mean, Casey, you watch football all over the world, from all over the world. Is he the best in the world at the minute? The best midfielder in the world, or are we just getting carried away because we love him so much?
He definitely is the most impactful midfielder in the world. Obviously, we see there's different sorts of midfielders that people kind of characterise in terms of the passing and how they control the game. And obviously, you don't see their impact as much because they don't play as far forward and stuff. But if you look at Bruno Fernandes' numbers and look what he brings to the team, he brings a work rate, he brings a desire, he brings like everything. He brings goals, not just penalties, which everyone seems to keep saying. Well, the stats out there now that say, people are saying, he's only got penalties, but he's got more goals in open play than De Bruyne. De Bruyne's only got 2 penalties.
We're going to get to that in a minute as well.
Which is going to be
which is
the
Bruno
major
thing, because that's
comparison.
important.
If I'm going to say, has he been the best player in the Premier League this season? I'm going to have to say no, and that's only because Harry Kane's put up. I don't like Harry Kane, but his stats are out of this world this season. I think he's got 10 games and he's got 8 goals, 11 assists. It's nearly double his goal contributions. It's like 2 goal contributions a game. And personally, it pains me to say that because I don't like Harry Kane, but he just has had that. Him and Son this season have just clicked. And you can say that, but you can say really close behind him, probably in terms of impact and in terms of contribution, Fernandes is up there.
Has Harry Kane ever won a game after the final whistle has gone, though?
That is true.
Bruno Fernandes has.
No.
Well, there you go then. That settles the argument for me. Forget about all your goals and assists.
He is the best midfielder in the world. Right?
Well, whilst we're on the subject of the derby, City fans, if any City fans do actually watch this channel, probably just to give us abuse, there is a few I've seen in the comments. We're watching this going, he's not as good as De Bruyne. De Bruyne's far better. Now, over the course of their career, you can make that argument, but this season especially, I mean, the stats show that Bruno is performing at a better level or a high level than Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, the stats are showing it, and also I think if you watch the games, the influence that Bruno's having on the games, the way he's controlling it, is at a high level to De Bruyne, and I think that De Bruyne as well. I think De Bruyne looks good when City are flying and when City are playing their best football. I don't think there's anybody better. He is perfect for that team in the way he can pick out a pass, in the way that he can transition, but everything he does. But when things aren't going well for City, he does kind of hide a little bit, and he does kind of seem like. He's not like Bruno's done in some games for us this season where we've been pretty poor and then all of a sudden Bruno goes, right, okay, I'll step up a bit. The Everton game, for example, where we started really poorly, didn't look at the races, and then Bruno goes, all right, come on, we need to try something here. Scores a couple of goals, bit of quality, and that's what Bruno's got. He's got that thing where he raises a team even when they're not playing well, which I don't think there's not many players in the league that do that, I don't think at all. That are part of a team that are poor and go, do you know what, come on, let's drag this together, let's get this going. And when United play well, he also shines as well. Bruno Fernandes he's the best midfielder in the world. I don't think there's much argument about it at the minute.
I think that De Bruyne kind of suffers from the same situation that Fernandes kind of suffers for, is it in the sense of the City system is that they play one defensive midfielder and 2 creative midfielders. Like they played Silva and De Bruyne, they've swapped that out now, and they play Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, and they kind of try and play with one defensive midfielder. And when they had Fernandinho, they had that box-to-box, absolutely defensively regimented, great passing, great at thingy. Like Fernandinho, I'm going to say, was a good player. Like, he was a dirty player. He kicked lumps. He kicked lumps out of people, but he did his job. And the fact is that we've seen with United that we're stronger when Fernandes is allowed to go forward. And I feel like De Bruyne suffers from his own system, but like you said, I've never ever seen De Bruyne be like, right, okay, then this game's gone to pot. I'm going to just relinquish all defensive duties and just go and try and score. And Fernandes does that and then still tries to get back, which I think is fantastic. He's that sort of box to box. He has that Rooney mentality that we've been saying about Cavani, where it's like it's all action. It's like he'll be up at the top of the pitch, and he'll be down at the back of the pitch, trying to get it back and get it forward again, because he's just like, we only win if we attack at this point. And I feel like those comebacks that we've had recently have been majorly down to Fernandes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that Fernandes has been, massive this season. You look at his stats comparison to Kevin De Bruyne. I think Fernandes has got, 11 goal involvements. Kevin De Bruyne, I think, has got, 8? Yep. So, they're not miles apart. But when you look at the team that De Bruyne's in as well, there's a lot of stars in that team. Look at Bruno. This is a team that's been very erratic, very inconsistent. Many people, I think, had City as favourites for the title this season. Don't think anyone had Manchester United for favourites for the title. So you'd expect De Bruyne to be sort of benefiting from that. Bruno's come in and he's just been an absolute phenomenon. I'd say that. I would, and I agree with what you say just quickly on Fernandinho. I think he's a player that they've missed because he doesn't always play. He has been playing in defence and he's getting on a bit. But he's one of those players that he's like an unsung hero, you look at him, you think he winds up the opposition fans because he'll make those sort of tactical fouls. But you look at his performances over the last sort of 6 or 7 years for, or however long it's been for Manchester City, and he's been a big part of them winning the titles that they've won. It pains me to say.
And he's the sort of mould of player that when everyone says, "Oh, what sort of midfielder United need?" He's the sort of midfielder that you point at this like. They're very fast, they're very physical, they're very good on the ball, they're very good at reading it, they're very good at passing it off to someone. He's kind of got a mixture of a lot of qualities that make a lot of midfielders good, and you don't see that much anymore. You've got your Ndidis for Leicester, you've got your Dennis Zakaria has been mentioned in terms of United, and those sort of players. But like that midfielder doesn't come around a lot, and it allows you to play a style of football that I don't think City have become accustomed to this season, not being able to play with Rodri filling in instead.
I think there is some similarities in terms of City and United in the fact that I think that United have played their best football when we've had Nemanja Matic sat there and allowed to have Pogba and Bruno as the creative players going forward. And I think the same with City was that they played their best football when it was Fernandinho the one sitting, and they could have David Silva, they could have De Bruyne as the two ahead, they could have Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne, David Silva. That's when they've looked their best. That was when City were free flowing. That was the system that they played. Whereas both systems, I think we've tried to replace them. Don't think that McTominay can quite do it on his own, and I don't think in the same sense for City. I think Rodri's come in there. I don't think he's as good as they kind of expected. I don't think he can do it on his own. So I think he's tried to combat that by adding in Gundogan and things like that, which has meant that they've not quite been as good going forward. And also, they've just not the quality that Fernandinho brings in terms of, like you said, the tactical fouls and things like that allows them to do what they're good at. It allows them to press, and they've just not been able to do that this last 18 months.
We will get to City. We'll have a look at them a bit more in depth. But first of all, we're going to get into the predicted 11s. We're talking about Bruno, so I think that's a given. If any of us have not got Bruno in our team, we may as well go home and do something else. Casey, I'll start with you. Who do you think is going to start the game against Manchester City? Who's in your 11?
I think it's going to be a very familiar team. I think it's going to be De Gea in net, the back line of Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, and then Alex Telles. If I see Luke Shaw near that team, I'm going to cry because it really hurt me in midweek on that fixture we're not going to talk about. I'm going to go with the normal defensive two pivot of Fred and McTominay. Solskjaer said he's rested Fred. Obviously, he couldn't play him in the Champions League. He rested him last week for this fixture. Three in front of that of Rashford, Fernandes, Martial, then up front Cavani. I think that that sort of team's very attacking, and I think that Cavani needs to be in there because we've seen before that City's defence is probably their weakest point. Laporta's very good, but who they play next to him has been... I mean, Ruben Diaz has been like kind of... I haven't heard good things, I haven't heard bad things. I think he's just done his job.
Did he not pick up an injury in the
he might,
as well?
I
think he came off in midweek as well, Ruben Diaz. So.
What about Nathan Ake? Is he not getting a game for them or what?
He's injured.
Oh, is it?
He injured in
money well spent.
Internationals. But yeah, Cavani to bother that defence, kind of give him a different option of Rashford and Martial coming at him dribbling, but then Cavani in the air and kind of making them have to wonder about the last runs is probably a great...
Yep. So you've got Martial on the right-hand side there, is that right?
I meant to have Rashford on the right-hand side, but it's fine. Either way, they kind of flop over, do whatever they want. You know what? Have fun.
Have fun. Go out there and express yourself. It's only City. Yeah. Lads, it's City.
No tactics, just vibes.
Yeah, no tactics, just vibes.
Just vibes.
That'll do the trick.
Yeah.
Baggers, who have you gone for in your 11?
Very, very similar team. I think the back five is a given at the minute. Well, I said that before the midweek game, and Luke Shaw managed to get in there. But I've got Alex Tellez in there. I don't think Luke Shaw had a good game on Tuesday night.
I think that's the least controversial statement in the history of statements.
I think he was off the pace. I still don't know what he offers us. I still don't get it. I think he's fit in the back three. If for some reason that I've gone with Cavani up there, I'll get back to that in a minute. But if for some reason that Cavani and Martial aren't fit, I wouldn't be surprised for us to go to the back three to kind of, we'll go to similar systems to how we played against Leipzig in the week. I don't want it.
Can you do that after that performance as a back three? Can you risk that?
Could you imagine that in 90
you
seconds?
You can, but at the same time that we played the back three against City a couple of times and it's worked.
I get that.
So I kind of would understand that. I didn't like it, but I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But yeah, I've gone with Tellez. I think Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, that's a given. Midfield, Fred's had a break now. He got the week off, the midweek off, not because he was for anything other than he was suspended, but Fred's now got fresh legs. And I think we missed him massively. I think he's been one of our much better players this season. So happy to see Fred in there. Also, McTominay in there as well. I think people slagged him off the week. I thought he was very good. And then front three, I've got Rashford, Bruno, Greenwood. I think that they played okay in the week, just it didn't quite fall for them. And I've gone for Cavani up top. Not quite sure whether he's fit yet. There's still rumours about whether he or Martial is going to be fit. But I think we need to go back to this 4-2-3-1. I think we need to have a go at City because I think that they've been conceding goals. And I think if we sit back and try and defend in the three at the back system, I just think that's asking for us to concede early kind of thing, which is what we have been doing. I think we just go at them, try and scare them almost a little bit.
Scare them. That's like the old days, man. Back to the 93, 94 times when we used to scare City. Saying that, though, we have got a good record against them recently. Just wanted to ask you, I mean, you've got McTominay, and we'll get to my team in a minute. What have you made of him this season? Because he's been very sort of... It's like, for me, up and down a little bit.
He's been up and down a little bit. I don't think he's quite... I still think there is limitations to Scott McTominay. I think that... I still think there's a problem in the fact that you have to play. I feel like you have to play McTominay and Fred. Both of them need each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that.
And that happens every single week. And that I like McTominay. I think people the thing is when they play very well, it's not a glamorous performance. It's not something that they're gonna be spraying balls about and stuff like that. That's not what they're gonna do. But when they play well, like the Everton game, for example, where they just filled in and did the job. The first Paris game, where they did all the work, they covered in, they made sure that Neymar and Mbappe didn't double up on anyone or isolate anyone. They were doing the job. They don't get the praise for that. They kind of just get, they were good today, weren't they? They were tackling well. But especially in games like City, I mean, they played in all games that we beat City last season, and I think that we need to have them again in there. I think it's key for us.
Get to my sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
I was just going to say, what you said is quite poignant because the thing is, it seems to be that whenever Fred and McTominay play well, it allows Fernandes to be free.
Quite what?
Pardon?
Was quite what? What he said was quite what?
It was quite poignant.
Was it?
No, but it's a good point. It's a good point. Like the fact is when they play quite well, everyone just says they're fine.
Very poignant.
Okay. I'm not
I don't think it was very poignant.
Right.
I disagree. I think you made a good point, but I don't think it's poignant.
No, but the thing is that...
Tell you what, Jay, let's relieve the pressure and go to your starting 11 now.
That's how you handle the low block.
Yeah, no, that's how you handle the low block. The fact is, what I was saying is when Fred and McTominay play well, it's kind of like the fine, but it allows Fernandes, Rashford and things to do a lot of the jobs without having the problems of going back, and then they just score goals and everyone's like, yeah, that's fine. So they play well. And the thing is that you've really put me off my vibe now.
I don't know what you mean. Go on. Forget about poignancy. Just tell us.
Yeah, but it's a good statement. They just kind of have to play together. Because I said to you during the midweek, when I saw Matic and McTominay, I was like, that midfield is going to get overrun within 2 seconds, because the fact is that Fred allows McTominay to make a few mistakes and his lack of mobility, and then just putting someone next to him who's less mobile than McTominay just doesn't work. Whereas when they're both together, they kind of Fred just runs all over the pitch and McTominay
yin
kind
and yang
of stands
very
where he
well,
needs to
don't
be.
they?
Yin and yang. Yeah, very well. Very well put. We'll get to my starting 11 for the back five. I've gone with, obviously it's flat back four, David De Gea in goal. Some people saying Dean Henderson should get a shout. I don't see that happening, and this is predicted 11. If it was up to me, I probably would start him, but it's not. It's up to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think he'll start David De Gea. I've not gone with Alex Tellez. I've gone with Brandon Williams. I thought he was excellent when he came on. I know people may think that's a little bit OTT. Against RB Leipzig, I thought he added energy. getting up and down that left-hand side is what we lacked. And I also think Alex Telles, for however great he is going forward, is a liability defensively. He made Bowen for West Ham look like a prime Cristiano Ronaldo, and it worries me a little bit that if you're going to have someone, say, you know, Raheem Sterling or whoever drifts over to their right-hand side, our left, and starts running at him, it could be problematic. I know Brandon Williams isn't perfect defensively, but I just think he's got enough energy and pace to get himself out of trouble a little bit as well. So yeah, I've gone with him, and I think that's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer may do. You both hit the nail on the head with the sort of defensive midfield, McTominay and Fred. Fernandes, I've gone with, right, I'll explain this one because people will be looking at it going, Jay's lost the plot again. Dan James, what are you playing Dan James for? For starters, at the time recording this for the press conference, we know that Martial and Cavani have had injuries. Don't know how fit they are, but even if they are fit, they might not be match fit because they've just come back from a knock, whatever. Dan James, he isn't the greatest player, I'm not saying he is, but he did well at the Etihad last season. Was it last season? I get them all mixed up now because it seems like last season was 5 seasons ago. Played really well, hurt them with his pace. And I think that if you've got him, I've got him, and I've got Mason Greenwood. Him on the left, Mason Greenwood on the right. Both can cut in, both got pace, both tricky, can cause problems. And I've gone with Marcus up top. I don't like Marcus up top usually. I prefer to see Martial or Cavani there. But I think for this game, that may be where he ends up starting because, as I mentioned before, I don't know how oven-ready Cavani and Anthony Martial are. So that's my...
I don't mind that 11.
My reasoning.
If that 11 comes out, everyone's going to go mad.
Dan James, right? If that 11 is announced at, what is it, R4 or whatever, Dan James will be trending by 16:31.
Yeah,
the left-hand side.
I think it's I don't think it's a bad thing putting Dan James there. You know, Kyle Walker is always due a clanger. He's one of them that constantly gives the ball away daft spots, and there's nothing. Dan James, the press is bang on for that. Wouldn't be surprised if Jesse Lingard got a game, to be honest.
Now you've taken a good point, or a relatively good point.
Just give Odion a go. Yeah, go on.
No.
Lee Grant needs his appearance this season.
Listen,
go on.
I like Jesse Lingard, but I don't think there's any danger of him starting against Manchester City. You never know, though. Who knows? Do you know what I mean?
That high press.
It could happen.
But no, Going back to it, I wouldn't mind seeing Dan James in there. He does offer a lot, especially the defensive work rate, the pressing from the front. I think Dan James is very good at that. And like you said, Brandon Williams, just that little bit of energy on Tuesday night just showed, if only Luke Shaw could do this a little bit, put a bit of fight in there. And it's a derby. You need someone that's going to go and do a daft tackle in the first half an hour. And Brandon Williams is built for that.
North Manchester as well, Brandon Williams. He's been well up for this one.
Yeah, so he'll just go in
stuck
there.
In at these.
Yeah, there you go.
I just realised who actually plays on the right hand side for City. I just remembered it's Riyad Mahrez.
Yeah.
So you're putting Alex Telles against Riyad Mahrez.
Yeah, that's that. I just realised that might actually be something I have to watch.
Brandon Williams. Maybe.
Brandon Williams will send him into the stands.
He'll make him a spectator. United will have one spectator for that match, and it'll be Riyad Mahrez in the stands.
Well, exactly. Talking of Manchester City, we're going to have a look at them. This hasn't been the start that they expected, was it? Or has it been? Sorry. They're actually below Manchester United. That's how badly they're playing this season. Everyone talks about our problems, our issues, pressure that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's under. And rightly so, I get that. I understand where that's coming from, even though I don't agree with some of the comments that are being made. But Manchester City, who, were favourites for the title, do have a lot of title winners in that team, a lot of world-class players in that team, or at least 3 or 4. Yet they've lost 2, drawn 3, and they're on 18 points. I mean, it's not really
not in the slightest
sort of classic, and I say classic in the sort of modern sense of the word because they've had some decent teams recently.
Yep.
City team, is it? This is a team that's struggled.
I mean, this is, Pep's come in and had those 2 seasons where they played fantastic football, got the 100 points and things like that. They looked very good, but at the same time, they've now a big thing is they've started to lose that title winning spine that was there from the start.
So your company,
David Silva, and now you've kind of Aguero's not really he's played a handful of games this season. I think it's a big thing for them because the players they brought in, I think there's some very good technical footballers in there, but there's not that same kind of winner's mentality that the reason that those 3 they won titles from Mancini onwards, they were the best in the league. They were the best in the league in their position. And there's a reason why they won titles before and then continued on for it. There's a reason behind that. And now that they've gone, they've not really replaced them with the same kind of leaders. They've not really replaced them with the same kind of quality. And they have been poor this season. And the other thing is the naivety in Pep not to go out and sign a centre forward this season when he knew that Aguero was injured, probably wasn't going to play as much this season, is madness. To say that Jesus will be fine, or I'll play a false 9 in some games and don't need a centre forward. Imagine if Ollie had done that. If Ollie had gone, I don't even need anyone that's a striker whatsoever. I've got one, that'll do me. That'll do me for the start of the season. Everyone would have been fuming. But with Pep, no, it's his philosophy. It'll be fine. He's going to put Bernardo. He's going to start playing John Stones there.
It's just overthinking it.
Overthinking it.
They've
had a terrible start to this season.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned there, Ake, the signings he's made. They spent a lot of money on centre halves and still not got it right. They still don't quite know. They've probably got one good one out of the lot. They've got Laporte, who
he's decent.
Who is good. But the amount of centre backs he's signed, and you still go, they're not that good. They're not great. So, City this season have been poor. I think that, there's something like this is the first time we've gone into a derby ahead of them since Fergie was there, which is ridiculous. But at the same time, we need to capitalise on that. You win this game this weekend, the table looks completely, that 4-point gap over Man City is massive if we can get that after this weekend.
Mahusiv. Casey, you mentioned Kevin De Bruyne. We've mentioned some of the other players. You mentioned Riyad Mahrez. Who's the one player, if you have to pick one, and maybe one of them two you've already mentioned, that you really worry about from this City team?
That's a hard thing to say. I worry about Riyad Mahrez just because he has that thing where he'll take a lot of shots, he'll create a lot of chances, and he just kind of is always about. Yeah. So it's a thing. But it's kind of who ends up in that forward line. Not Sterling, because I feel like Wan-Bissaka has kind of got it over. So if Sterling scores, we're in trouble. Because we've got...
putting on Sterling to score any time as well, yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Come on, Aaron. You were saying about the striker thing. I think he kind of lucked out on the striker thing with the fact that Ferran Torres has just decided, I'm actually going to be a decent goal scorer because he scores hat-tricks for Spain and he scores in the Champions League, and he's kind of like been a decent backup goal scorer to Jesus, and he's kind of lucked out on that regard because in Spain he was just kind of a creative right winger, so he might be a decent situation. But yeah, I think it's going to probably be Mahrez.
Right, okay. You're going Riyad Mahrez as the one to watch. Yeah, I sort of get that. He's having a fair decent season. This is the thing with City, though. They can afford... Remember, we finished 19 points behind them. We bought Fred, Diogo Dalot and Lee Grant. They broke their transfer record for Riyad Mahrez. Didn't have a great couple of seasons and is now kicking on slightly, even though he's been quite erratic from what I've seen. But they can afford to make signings and, have a little bit of patience for him. Yeah. They can afford to buy Claudio Bravo, him not work out, and bring in Edison. Yeah. So they have that sort of freedom that with Ollie, it's like, you know what, you bought that player, you bought him, but listen, we can talk all day.
My worry is still, my worry play for them is still Aguero. I still think, even though he's not going to start, he always worries me.
Mate,
it's still Aguero's the only player that worries me.
Mate, he's overrated. Never even scores.
Jay, why have you just said that? Touch the wood, Jay.
His record in a derby is shocking. Getting some predictions before we wrap up even. Get my words out. Casey, what's the score going to be?
I'm going to say 2-1 to United. I'm going to be positive. It could easily be a draw, but I feel like...
Or it could be a loss.
There's three possible results. Or it could get called off altogether. We don't know what happens. But yeah, I think the situation could end up being this where it was the Arsenal game where it was just two teams just trying to poke at each other for 90 minutes and then one gets a pen. But then it could easily just be like, free flowing, it clams up and then someone gets a goal. And I hope that's United. I think 2-1, Rashford scores.
I'll say that. Baggers, and can you make your answer as poignant as possible, please?
It's poignant. I'm going to make it as poignant as possible. In the famous words of Michael Owens, if you don't score goals, you don't win football matches.
Muse on the meaning of life for a bit. Yeah. Then go on.
3-1 United. I'm going for it.
Yeah.
All out. Sod it. Rashford's going to score 2, and Mason Greenwood gets his first derby goal.
Happy days. I'm going to go. I'm feeling a bit nervous, so I'm going to go 4-2 United. I think we'll just get in it with like we did that time under Van Gaal. Just
Chris give him a in there,
bit of it. Everyone will get it on the action. Brandon Williams will get a goal, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka will get Warren Wan-Bissaka Aaron's brother will get in on the action. I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game, and hopefully we can outscore him, because this will give everyone a boost after the trials and tribulations in Europe, which we don't need to go into. Yeah. This has been the Stretford Paddock Premier League Manchester City preview. That's been Alex Baggers. You know where to find him. You're going to be here, aren't you, for the
pre-game show,
halftime, post-match stuff. That's Casey Evans. You know where to find him on socials. If you've not checked out the members section on the channel as well, make sure you look at that. We've got the 12 days of Paddock, where we're giving away a load of goodies, and you're also in with a chance of winning a PlayStation 5. And if you're not subscribing to the channel, and sort your lives out and hit the subscribe button. Come on. And as I mentioned, we will have the watch along. We will have all the pre-match, full game, and then the post-match reaction. I think Andy Tate's going to be here, going to be from Howson. We'll have McCall after the game as well. So don't forget to watch that. I've been Jay. Thanks for watching.
Head over to stretfordpaddock.bigcartel.com and check out the Paddock merch. And for a short time, you can get 20% off orders with 2 items or more using the code Paddock20. Go get on it.